Thank you so much for coming, listening, and I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm going to talk about regional, I'll take that away. I'll talk about building a regional space ecosystem, because that is what I've been doing for some time. And you can ask, what is a regional space ecosystem? Where does it start? Where does it end? I've put a circle around our region here, which is Norrbotten, or the Swedish Lapland, you can call it. But of course, you see connections spread all over outside this area and actually globally, because that is how this business is working. So I work at LTU Business, which is very much connected to LTU, Luleå University of Technology. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my who I am, first of all, but then the background of the region, how it looked like when I started some 32 years ago, and also the REIT project that I have been working with. REIT is a Swedish abbreviation, and in English it would be Space for Innovation and Growth. A little bit about the results and also the next step. What are we? Where are we heading? So first of all, myself, I am a very much outdoor person. As you can see on this picture, and living in Kiruna, winter is very important to me, skiing, climbing tops. So this is what I do whenever I can. So this is a top just between the border of Sweden and Norway. And looking out, you can see there's a frozen lake, but you can also see a little bit further on, you can see actually the sea, the Atlantic. So being in this environment is like being on the top of the world. So outdoor is important. Another very important is the team here in the right corner, which is my family. I'm married. I have two sons and two daughter-in-laws, and now I also have a small grandchild. That is what happens in life when you turn more and more every year, you know. So the last picture of my family is actually we're having a birthday party with a special theme. Can you see what theme we're into? It's a little bit ABBA here, but it's the 60s, 70s, and a little bit of a flower power, and we had a wonderful party. But you see, I'm a lot outdoors, but I also like the picture for the very much to the left is not from our area, as you can see. So I also like to explore outdoors, and this happened to be a week's walk in the desert in Morocco that I just recently did. And I can really recommend that if you can spare a week, because we walked in silence and that was fantastic. In the middle, you also see when I'm sitting down on top of a summit or a peak in the Himalayas. So I have also got the chance to work outside in the mountains, in the Himalayas even. In this picture, you see also two of my group and team members. We went there to validate an instrument that was aiming to go to Mars, which it didn't at the end of the day, but we didn't know that at that time. So we were looking into how this instrument could work in a Mars analog, as you call it. High, dry, very warm, very cold in the night, but very warm when we were out in the desert. So it was a fantastic thing. And I think that the space business can really take you all over the world. And even if you have an odd, something that you really like, you can combine it. So space can be combined in so many different ways. And I met with people from all over the world looking into different challenges when you go to Mars. So this was fantastic. But if we look into even more into my career, I started at S-Range. You know, space industry and space research in Kiruna started back in the 50s. Even further, but that's when the Institute of Space Physics was inaugurated. And it was a couple of 5 members there with Bengt Hultqvist, Professor Emeritus Bengt Hultqvist, who actually started the whole thing. And that was at Space Campus, where I work today. And I started in 1992, working with communication, outreach, more and more marketing and sales, a lot with the media, and spreading all the important messages that we have within space. And little by little, I came in more into business development. That's where Spaceport Sweden came in, that Karin mentioned, and where our lines crossed for the first time. Now, since 2011, I work at LTU Business, which is very much connected to the university. So I'm sitting out a space campus where you had your education. Lots of space students work out here at Esrange right now. Very, very important part of the, or ingredients of the ecosystem, I should say. All the new talent people coming. So I work mostly today with regional development, and I've been working as a project management for REIT, this Space for Innovation and Growth that I will talk a little bit more about. But this is a fantastic journey I've had. Big Science Sweden is mentioned, also something I worked with for a couple of years within my project management role. And it seems like the space business is connected to so many more businesses than just the core space business. So the opportunities for you guys out there are big. So the background, when we talk about, let's see if I can get rid of, no, I can't, I guess. Oh, it will be there. Well, we are far north, everybody knows that. We are very sparsely populated, so this is really special conditions that has been to our favor when it comes to the space business. We're also a country of great contrasts. I had lunch with a French woman today here at Esrange who just moved here, and she just said, wow, it's so much more fantastic than I thought, because this is a very interesting place to be. And of course, we have all things that the civilization can give you, but in a smaller form, you could say. And why space in this region? Well, we are very near the North Pole, which means that we are within the auroral zone. And within this zone, there are so many interesting phenomena for the space researchers. And that's where it began, you know. And the space researchers, they started to do measurements on ground, but they really wanted to get into space. And then Esrange Space Center was established in 1966. So huge areas on land where we could take down the payloads again, but also sparsely activities up in air, which means that if you send a rocket from here, you don't have the big risk of colliding with all the air traffic that you can see down further south. So this is an excellent place. And we also know that this industry is going to grow tremendously. This is a picture I actually borrowed from SSC, who borrowed it from somebody else, but there's going to be a huge impact, and that is very much thanks to, as all of you in the space business already know, the infrastructure and the satellite infrastructure that we have around our world. So not only dealing with them in space, but also dealing with them a lot before they get up is what our region will be very strong at. And that's why we think that we're going to grow even more. But if we look back from the very start, starting with 5 persons in 1957, you see that the curve has been really fantastic until 2000 something. And then something happened, and we wonder, why don't we continue? And maybe there is a threshold where this is where we should be. But we have seen that we need to grow more. So that's why we initiated an analysis on why don't we grow more? Why does it look like this? This was in 2014. Why does all the subsidiaries pop up down south and not in Kiruna? And we could see that, of course, the market is much bigger. So many of these small companies popping up, they have not only the space business as their market, but much, much bigger. And of course, you have all the industry down south, more or less. But up in our area, it was also due to what many of you know about the ESA geographical return. There wasn't room enough for more Swedish activities at the time. So this base here at Esrange is filled with people from all around Europe because they get their geographical return. But some years ago, when New Space started, we saw that this will change, and maybe we also need to help the regional companies, the ones here in the right corner, because the regional companies in our region, they were not used to delivering and being suppliers to this industry. actually. So it was a matter of mindset. They said, wow, that is rocket science. We cannot deliver rocket science. We deliver to the mine or to the woods industry or to the green electricity that we produce up here. And when you talk to the people in the high-tech areas, non-space, they actually deliver rocket science to all these other industries. It's the same industries or the same techniques, but just screwed in different ways. So we needed to learn to get them aware of that their competence is actually needed in space as well. So that is a long journey to change your mindset. We also see that we have 16 startups in the region nowadays, and we have 3 new international establishments. You know about ESA Aerospace and Rocket Factory due to the need of new European rockets that we will launch from S-range and launch all these thousands of smaller satellites needed in the infrastructure to make good sense of down on Earth. So this is what we saw. The picture you see here is from today. So things has happened. But what we also saw back down the line at 2014 was that the research in our area was very much connected to ground-based research. So if you go to the researchers at S-range or at Space Campus, they are dealing with, they were at the time dealing very much with science in space, which is ground-based science. And we saw that we need also to look into applied science. So we changed that within the project. So all the R&D work in the project was applied. And of course, the ground-based science is still there. Very, very important. But this was an add-on that can be directly connected to innovation and growth. So this is where we started to connect people with each other and also to develop the innovation support system. Because when people meet, things happen. And we get new products, we get new services, we get new companies, as you saw in the previous slide. And we also get a lot of other new, really good things that we need in the business. So we thought we need to help this region a bit. There was already a fantastic ecosystem in place by all those I mean, SSC was here, Institute of Space Physics, ASCAT, etc. LTU was here, Umeå University was here. So we had a lot of people in place, but it needed some lubricant, you could say, a facilitator to help them to find the ways. So we started to draw on a regional program where we wanted to attract people to work with collaboration the first 3 years, EU funded, always 3 years when it comes to regional funds. So the first 3 years, we started to collaborate much, much more and to find funding so that the industry and the academia could work with projects together in a rather interesting price. And we had support for, support for lots of things that we saw was in need. After 3 years, which turned very, very quick, we saw that we need to continue. And everything we have done here, or most of it, was good stuff, but we needed to establish it. So we needed more time, and we got 3 more times. And then at the end of the day, we got another 2 years. That's why we continued until 2023. So we just finished the project, which means finished the funding that we had, but the work is absolutely continuing. And the target group was in the beginning and is still the region's business that is already in place, academia that is in place, students and researchers, but also all these SMEs that really have the ability and the knowledge and everything to deliver, but hasn't really understood that space can be their market. And the last one in line here is actually a tricky one because it's about this mindset. Well, anyway, we started. I'd like to remove this. It's only here. Good. Developing a space ecosystem then. Well, this is the partners in the project, we were 12. And it was led by LTU, initiated it together with us at LTU Business. the prefect at the time, we applied for a lot of millions, I can say. We needed that, and then all these people came on board. And this is a very good start. But talking about an ecosystem and talking about really making a change, we need many, many more, of course. So some of the partners on the academia side were neighbors, but they could also be on the other side of the world. We needed much more support, people like me, the lubricant in the system, investors, coaches. It could be, the Swedish Agency for Space is in, and Vinnova, who is the innovation authorities in Sweden, etc. Lots of people needed, and also we have built up these connections with them. More industry needed, all these SMEs that we identified, but also the startups. Of course, we need to take them into the family and help them in different ways, especially a startup. And I should say also the SMEs, actually, the small and medium-sized companies, because if you enter a new business that you are maybe not afraid of, but you have a very high respect for it, which could be very good, because we need that, in the levels of safety and all. But very, very often you need to reach out your hand and to open up, because otherwise you will not meet. So this is very important, that the big companies open up and start looking at those around them, because when you need quick supply in place, it can take time for people from Australia to come here, or Germany, or whatever. Last but not least, supported by the public sector as well, either in different ways, but also very much collaborating. So this is what we have been doing and will be continuing to do. Within the project, we had 5 work packages, 3 the first years, the Center of Excellence, R&D projects between industry and academia, innovation support. And once we launched the Center of Excellence, which we actually inaugurated out here by sending a small weather balloon, we continued with the R&Ds and the innovation support system, and we also added test beds, which is crucial for new ideas. You need to test and test and test. And also the Aerospace Cluster Sweden. We joined them with the northern node up here. It was already in the rest of Sweden, but we joined them because we saw that the small and medium-sized companies, they needed a hand, and they needed somebody to open this door. So we needed to work more on that. So looking very shortly into these 5 work packages that were crucial for our region. The Center of Excellence was important to launch because initially we started with the competence that we have in Kiruna. The platform systems, the payloads, instrumentation, ground operations, etc. These are things that you find at S-Range and at Space Campus. So it was already in place. But when we started, we got a much bigger scope, because we understood that other subjects down at the university in Luleå, they wanted to join, and other companies wanted to join. Even outside our region wanted to join. And normally a regional project, you're not allowed to take in too many people from outside, but we did. And we got an exception for that. And that was also one of our success factors, actually. And you can also see how we find cross-fertilization between different subjects here. And this is also very important to show, because all those small and medium-sized companies locally in town delivering to other subjects or to other businesses, they see that we all need more or less the same technology. Let's meet, and actually things start to happen when people meet. That's when innovation grows. The R&D project I was talking about as the second work package was all focused on the need within the industry. So the industry involved, they said, this is what we need. Do we have a researcher that can help us in this, and really dive into matters that are difficult to find time, or even resources, or maybe also competence within a special company, because this is research, so you need to dig really deep. And for that, this combination is really great. Industry, academia, start working together. When it comes to test beds, we were focusing not on the test bed out here at S-Range, but the test bed at Space Campus. These are indoor test beds, and facilities that you use when you test new products or solutions on vehicles going into space. So preparing yourself for space. And these have been built up by the Institute of Space Physics and lately also by the university. And we see that the capacity is not fully used. We could open up this, and it's also crucial to open up so that smaller players like new startups who do not have the resources to build their own facilities for testing, they should absolutely get access to this. So we have been working on how do we open up and how do we commercialize these kind of facilities that are owned by, in this case, the Swedish state, and how do we do it in a lawful way. So that has been a very interesting journey, and now it is open. Still challenges to be solved, but of course also working together hand by hand with S-Range and your facilities outdoors. So this is a super nice complement in our value chain in this region, being able to test inside and outside, and also all these simulation of space environment. So the innovation support system is also something that we started with, gathering everything we already had in place, but making it more visible, making people aware of if you have a new space idea, we can actually help you along. We have also built up the Swedish ESA BIC, the ESA Business Incubator, which is in place physically in Luleå, but they work and operate over the whole region. And of course, it is led by Luleå, but it operates over the whole nation actually. So we have created this Space Innovation Forum that I think many of you have been to, or at least have been invited to, because it has been open and it has been very popular for the whole region to come and join, lunch to lunch meeting, but also we've had international both speakers and participants, just because we have managed to attract people to this interesting ecosystem. Students, of course, the SMEs I've mentioned, and then finally the SMEs that we focus on especially within this 5th work package. So trying to help them in all ways to get more business for them, a very interesting business, but also help the industry to get really competent suppliers from nearby. So keep our fingers crossed. I'm going to show you a film here. Let's see if we can listen to the results and I can take my breath for a while. those were some of the results I should mention. And another thing we did was we built up, I see that time is running here, so I will skip this, but we built up a model with the EU funding that we call the REIT model, and which was a kind of a unique constellation. So anybody interested in how we organized ourselves and what the thoughts behind this program was, I will be glad to just contact me. So the next step, very, very quick. We will form the next step. We will not be calling ourselves REIT anymore. We will need to find another way, some kind of cluster or north or something. And we are going to do this by working within the 7 cluster gap model, which is very useful when you look into a cluster or a region, an ecosystem like this. And the smaller gaps you have between these players, the more innovation you can grow. This is scientists, in this case, Örjan Sörväll, who's built the model, and it has been kind of useful. So a strong interaction across cluster actors is good. I mean, that is all about good knowledge about each other. We have a dense network, we have a common language so that we understand each other. We build trust and reliability between each other, and we also make a lot of positive incentives for collaboration. And that is all absolutely super easy to say, but often very difficult to do because everybody is running in their activity plans and so forth. But you can have really weak interaction, and that does not help, I can tell you. Even though we have come a very long way, a lot of things are happening here, and a lot of things are working. I mean, it did from the very start. The REIT project has helped the community, even though much was in place. We are in an even better position right now. We do have obstacles. We have challenges like everybody. And as soon as you identify them, then you have something to work on. And that is what we are going to do. That is our next step, actually. So that was all from me.